honor to be here today with so many real scholars. I'm still a federal employee, so I don't qualify, and because I'm still processing out, I have to bear in mind that you, the taxpayers, are still paying my salary, so it won't be, if this conference had been about 2 weeks from now, I might have somewhat different things to say, but I'll get as close as I can as a federal employee. It's really very important that this discussion is even being held, and I think from the array of speakers that you're going to hear from, that this is going to be a very significant contribution to an important subject, because the period we're in right now is potentially critical for the United States, for our allies and friends around the world, for peace and stability in the Middle East, and for the state of Israel. You know, historians often look back after huge tragedies have occurred and say, how is it that responsible policymakers at the time didn't see this coming? How is it that they missed what were, at least in retrospect, clear signals? Clear signals from, in many cases, from the people who were about to commit acts of great barbarity and atrocity, who never made any effort to conceal what their intentions were, who said sometimes very explicitly the steps that they intended to take as they were taking them. And yet, political leaders and policymakers miss these indications, in many cases dismissing them as the ravings of lunatics, statements by people who couldn't possibly mean what they say. And to be sure, there are lots of statements made by people that are completely crazy by our lights that will never come to pass, thank God. But there are times in history when people say things like, I'm going to do X, and they say it repeatedly, and they're criticized for it, yet they keep saying it, and then someday they actually do it. And the real issue now, it seems to me, with the government of Iran, and particularly President Ahmajinedad, is whether we're at one of those historical moments where he doesn't feign any hesitation at all about what he says his intentions are. He has statements repeatedly denying the existence of the Holocaust, saying that Israel should be wiped off the map. He holds conferences with names like the world without the United States. He has his current affair in Tehran on whether the Holocaust took place, and how bad it was for those who think maybe it did. And he continues to make statements despite what many people around the world say about him. And he makes the statements, and he continues to express these feelings as if completely unmoved. Now, we can say that this is all for domestic Iranian consumption. We can say this is propaganda to help his image in the region and the country. And one can hope that that's all that it really is. But obviously, one has to be concerned that what Ahmadinejad is saying is what he actually believes and what he intends to carry out. And that's why, welcome, Congressman. That's why it's important that if we are at this stage where we're being given early warning, unambiguously, of what his intentions are, that it's time to take action. Now, in the case of Ahmadinejad, not only is what he says outrageous and unacceptable, but what he's doing about it and what his government is doing about it demonstrates that this is not merely a series of statements about his intentions. His government is seeking to acquire the capabilities to do exactly what he's talking about. And he is, and the government of Iran over many years have been pursuing these capabilities not just at one end or the other of the spectrum of the use of force, but from the top of it to the bottom of it. Iran has been for many years, as you all know, the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. They finance Hamas and Hezbollah. They've got substantial influence over the government of Syria, which cooperates in assisting Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hamas in Lebanon and the occupied territories. These are governments that finance the officers of Hamas ministries and the Palestinian Authority and have engaged in acts of terrorism around the world. So Iran, by long-standing policy, has been pursuing these destabilizing and threatening activities for quite some time, and with every risk that the activities could escalate. If you look at their military capabilities, if you look at their deliveries through the various channels to groups inside the occupied territories, you remember the Korean aid, transfer of weapons and material. There's a whole range of things that Iran can and does supply, including currently to Hezbollah. My favorite item on that list being Hezbollah's arsenal of anti-ship cruise missiles. You're aware, of course, Hezbollah says it's entitled to be armed to liberate Lebanese territory in the Golan Heights. It's never been explained to me how a militia attempting to do that needs anti-ship cruise missiles. But I'm sure there's some reason why the Iranians give that material and similarly high-tech weapons to Hezbollah. But at the upper end of the spectrum, Iran has been active for nearly 2 decades in aggressive and clandestine pursuit of a nuclear weapons capability. And not just nuclear weapons, but the ballistic missile capability to deliver those weapons in an increasingly large radius and with increasing accuracy. Now, we have, in the case of the Iranian nuclear weapons program, a clear challenge to the United States and its friends and allies whether we're going to be able to take effective action. And we've been engaged for the past several years in a very difficult diplomatic effort with our European allies, Britain, France, and Germany, increasingly in the past year with Russia and China, the other 2 permanent members of the Security Council, to see if we can't find a peaceful and diplomatic way to avoid having Iran become a nuclear power. We're now engaged in a very difficult negotiation with Russia, in particular, to see whether the Security Council will adopt a meaningful sanctions resolution, because Iran has defied a 14-to-1 vote by the Security Council this past summer, directing Iran to stop its uranium enrichment activities. The Iranians have thumbed their nose at that directive, as they have repeated decisions of the Board of Governors of the International Atomic Energy Agency. We know that China has been a major supplier of ballistic missile technology to Iran, as has North Korea. These are connections that, along with Russia's sales of high-tech weapons to Iran, that are very difficult to break. But it is a measure, a test of the Security Council, and in a sense a test of the entire United Nations system, to see whether, in the face of now almost 5 months of defiance by Iran of the Security Council's directive that Iran suspend uranium enrichment activity, whether the Council will enact meaningful sanctions. My own feeling is that if a sanctions resolution is adopted, the Iranians may take a step such as withdrawing from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty or expelling the inspectors of the International Atomic Energy Agency, neither of which makes any sense if their program is truly peaceful, as they say, but which would demonstrate, I think, in another convincing way that their program is not peaceful. So Iran and the government that President Ahmajinedad leads is not simply a regime that engages in hateful rhetoric. It is seeking to acquire capabilities which, when married with the intentions that they make public, have to be of very grave concern to the United States, to all of its friends and allies, and particularly to Israel. This is why President Bush has referred to his fear of a nuclear holocaust. something that would be entirely within Iran's hands if it is able to develop a completely indigenous capability over the entire scope of the nuclear fuel cycle, which they could do. They have uranium deposits in Iran. They have mastered nearly the entire length and breadth of the nuclear fuel cycle, and their ballistic missile development program is proceeding very rapidly. This is the kind of threat that one can only look at with growing horror, because the mentality in Tehran, from all that we can see, is that the Iranians feel that time is on their side, as indeed it is. That Iran is a rising power, that its influence in the region and the world as a whole are increasing, and therefore the risks that it faces from threatened sanctions by the Security Council or other actions in the diplomatic sphere don't give it pause. So I think that the notion here of taking Ahmajinedad seriously, taking seriously that he means what he says and intends to have the capabilities to carry through on it, is critical in our own internal discussions in the United States about what we're going to do about it, and whether we will find ourselves a few years from now looking back and asking, as historians did, how did we miss this? How did we miss this? Thank you very much.